Thank you, Sean. Okay, 15A. The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend sections 1-1 and 1-2 of the town bylaws by deleting the text and title and inserting in place thereof the new text and title as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee motions to approve Article 15A as printed in the warrant. Does anything be heard on Article 15A? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15A, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 15B is fire alarm connections. Maureen.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend Section 69-3 of the town bylaws by inserting a new definition for master box as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee makes a motion to approve and amend the article and amend Section 69-3 by inserting a new definition. I'd like to recognize the Fire Chief, Mr. John Nuttall.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to make sure everybody's perfectly clear what they're voting on tonight, because an affirmative vote on this will cause an eventual cost both for the town of Abington, some organizations in town, as well as some of the private businesses. What we're trying to do is we have two types of fire alarm systems in town. We have a radio-based system where each individual fire alarm box sends a signal directly to the fire station. There's no wires involved. We also have the older antiquated wired system, which a lot of the town buildings still have, a lot of the older buildings, and that is connected by several circuits or loops of old wire directly to the fire station. If an alarm goes off or if you pull the box, that sends a signal to the station. The benefit of us trying to replace the older system with the new radio system, there's actually several of them. One, the newer radio systems are much less susceptible to damage from storms, from ice, from if somebody hits a pole from a motor vehicle accident. Sometimes it'll pull those wires down. And any of the boxes or buildings that are connected to that wire or that looped system now no longer have a fire alarm system until that's repaired. The other benefit is it gives us more information directly to the fire department, to the fire station, as to specifically what in that building triggered the fire alarm system. That, in effect, can also allow us to either increase or decrease our response to that unit. Currently, the high school is the older type. If any device in this building goes off or if somebody pulls the alarm, we have no idea what's going on. We're going to send everything here. As opposed to next door at the town hall or the library, if we know it's just a small, like a low heat temperature on the sprinkler system, we're only going to send one truck. Or if we're getting multiple zones or multiple alarms, we're going to send more, if not start mutual aid. There's a lot of benefits to us why we want to do this. However, this is going to cause a cost because around 2015, and the reason I'm building this out to 2015 is to allow people time to try to budget for this as well as for the town, because each one of these boxes, which would have to be replaced, is anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. For the town of Abington, we'd be looking at anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 to replace all of the municipal-owned older boxes as well as some of the receiving equipment. There's also about 80 privately owned businesses throughout town, buildings, churches, organizations. At some point over the next few years, they would have to replace their older antiquated boxes with the newer type as well. I just want to make sure you're aware of that because it's not printed here. This would just really be step one to get the law in motion. The next step would be we can notify all those businesses in the town that in a few years we're going to be changing over, and then we try to get them to comply.
Thank you very much, Chief Nuttall, for that explanation. Does anyone else have any questions on Article 15B? If not, the motion will be to approve the article so we can amend Article 69.3 of the town bylaws by inserting a new definition of form master box as printed in the warrant. All those in favor of approving Article 15B, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 15B passes. Article 15C is an article which would allow the selectmen to determine a location of town meeting to be outside the geographic limits of Abington if need be. Maureen?
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town by adopting a new section 152-11 as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee motions to approve and amend the general laws of the town by adopting this new section 152, section 11 or dash 11 as printed in the warrant. Is there anything to be heard on this Article 15C? If not, yes, no? Terry, you want to speak? Yes? Sure, go right ahead.
Is this the bylaw change to have, for the opportunity to have town meeting out of town?
It is.
Yes, if
Yes,
this
it
bylaw
is.
gets accepted, it gives them the ability. If I can help explain, I'd hate to get in part of the debate. Go ahead, Mike Franey can do this. Moderator will recognize former moderator, Mike Franey.
Mike Franey, 726 Washington Street. This is strictly to give you an option. Nobody here believes we should ever move the town meeting out of the town of Abington. But if we had a catastrophe, or if we had a very large town meeting, like, for instance, if we say something happened and we were forced to have the town meeting at Memorial Field, if this passes, we'd have the option of having it at Massasoit Conference Center or Memorial Field, depending on what it looked like. If it doesn't pass, we don't have that option. We're strictly stuck in the town of Abington. So chances are, there's a good chance, I don't think anybody here would ever, could describe it, but there are certain instances that might have the need for us to move town meeting to a more comfortable location, where you'd have heat and air conditioning, where you'd have toilets and stuff, and it's just something I believe that the moderator brought forward, that something we should have in the books. It's strictly an option, that's all it is. Just allows us to do that if it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franey. All right, Miss, you want to follow up? Go right ahead.
Yeah, Terry Mays, 1020 Hancock Street. I am against having the opportunity to move town meeting out of town. It just doesn't seem to be appropriate. We've always been able to handle the crowds that we've had, and we've had some pretty large crowds. So I would not support this article. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Anything else to be heard on Article 15C? Moderator recognizes Ms. Kathy Creighton.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Creighton, and I'm on the Abington Bylaw Committee. We recommended approval of this. It's really to be used in case of a severe emergency. For example, a hurricane or a tornado that some of our neighbors experience. We'd have light and electricity in a building like this. And some of the things to think about is, if we're going to vote on something about Tri-Town and the Planning Commission out there, or say a casino, I know that's a little out of whack for our town, but to think about some bigger item. I personally was here for the time that we voted on some of the stuff related to the transfer station, a bylaw change. We had over 750 people in this room, and it was packed, and honestly, I feel like we might have violated fire laws, and I really don't want us to do that. So I really think that this is a good opportunity for us to have an escape or some way to have the town meeting we need to have instead of having it out on a field where people aren't going to be able to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Creighton. Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
Jeff Baker, 14 Wyman Road. How about a compromise in changing the language to in the event of exigent circumstances instead of just circumstances, because that seems a little too broad.
Sorry, where do you want to put that word in? Let's see.
Where it says, in the explanation, approval of the proposed bylaw will allow the Board of Selectmen to vote, hold town meeting outside geographic boundaries of the town in the event that exigent circumstances so require.
Okay. However, we're not going to be approving that language. The only language we're approving will be the first paragraph on the top of page 43, so, which starts, when the Board of Selectmen determines by separate vote that it is necessary or appropriate. So that is the language that would be approved if you were to vote yes on this article. Any other questions on Article 15C? Not seeing any, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor of approving Article 15C as printed in the handout in the article, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ooh, good one. I'm going to have to go for hand raising once again. All those in favor of approving Article 15C, please raise your hand. Thank you. Put your hands down, please. All those opposed to Article 15C, please raise your hand. The ayes have it. Article 15C will pass. We move to Article 15D regarding office hours and building closures, role of town manager, board of library trustees, town manager's authority to close buildings. Ms. Jansen.
The Finance Committee moves to amend Section 155-1 and 155-3 of the town bylaws as printed in the warrant, and further by inserting in the second sentence of Section 155-3, after the words Board of Selectmen, the words or its designee.
So just to clarify, on the top of page 44, which is the proposed section 155-3, you can see in the first sentence it says the Board of Selectmen, then it's underlined, or its designee. And if you follow it to the end of the second sentence, which says departments are closed by the order of the Board of Selectmen, they would like to insert the same language, or its designee. And the rest of the language would be approved as shown. So the motion is to approve the article with the or its designee inserted at the end of the second sentence in section 155-3. Are there any questions? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15D, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 15E, authority of the Board of Library Trustees. Ms. Jansen?
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to amend Section 3-8 of the Town Charter as set forth in the warrant. Provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition.
Finance Committee makes a motion to approve it, and this is a change to the charter. That's why that added language is in there. That has to go through special legislation. Are there any questions on the motion for Article 15E? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15E, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. And speaking of the library, I was asked to remind you all that the annual library book sale will be Friday, April 27th from 12:30 to 4:30, and again on Saturday, April 28th from 10 to 3. Also on Saturday, April 28th, will be Clean Up Abington Day. If you'd like to help out, you can go to your nearest park or your favorite school or town building, or you can just show up at the police station and you'll be assigned where to help out Clean Up Abington on April 28th from 9 till 3 o'clock. So April 28th, everyone's busy. You're going to go here to cast your ballots on Election Day. You're going to help clean up Abington and go check out the library. And Nancy Reed would be upset with me if I didn't mention the summer concert series is getting ready. If you'd like to make a donation to help pay for some of the bands, they have a band list already in the works, some great bands lined up. Please contact Nancy or any other members of the committee of the summer concert series held at the Nisbee Bandstand. Thank you very much. All right, we move on to Article 15F, approval of dumping of landfill material. Ms. Jansen.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend Section 49-1 of the town bylaws as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee makes a motion to approve and amend Article Section 49-1. And if I can just say, so that you avoid the question, landfill material, we're not talking about trash that you put in a dump. We're talking about gravel and loam that you might do to fill in your backyard. Is there anything to be heard on Article 15F? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15F, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. It is majority vote. Article 15G, issuance of hawker and peddler licenses. Ms. Jansen.
The Finance Committee moves that the town amend Section 117.2 of the town bylaws as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee motions the town amend this Section 117.2 of the bylaws as printed. Is there anything to be heard on Article 15G? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15G, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 15H, criminal history background check for Class 2 licenses.
The Finance,
Go ahead.
the Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend Section 164.4 of the town bylaws by adding a new subsection N as printed in the warrant.
And Class 2 licenses deal with the selling of, is that used cars? Used cars, just for everyone's knowledge. Anything to be heard on this proposal on Article 15H, the motion by the Finance Committee? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15H, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. 15I, timing of notice to be provided to possible abutters of Class 2 licenses. Again, this is regarding used cars.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend Section 164-6F of the town bylaws as printed in the warrant.
Finance Committee makes a motion to approve. Anything to be heard on Article 15I? If not, all those in favor of Article 15I, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Article 15J, Code of Ethics.
Okay, for 15J, we're also going a little bit off of the warrant. The motion is, well, actually, on the advice of town council, and in accordance with the vote of the Board of Selectmen, Article 15J is being withdrawn from consideration tonight. It is our understanding that this bylaw will be reviewed further and may be resubmitted in a different form at a future town meeting.
So the article is being withdrawn. There'll be no motion on this article. Moderator recognizes Kathy Creighton.
My name is Kathy Creighton. On behalf of the Bylaw Committee, we'd like to postpone talking about this article till the special town meeting I think we're going to have in May to talk about, to deal with this. We're going to try to fine-tune the language. Some questions and some changes have been brought up, and we'd like to get it solidified and bring it back to the whole town meeting. But our intent is to bring it to the May town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Creighton. Ms. Creighton brings up a great point, and I want to put everyone on notice. We are going, at the end of this night, we're going to declare that we will be meeting again, I believe it's on Monday, May 21st, that the selectmen wanted. That will be for the budget issues, the monetary issues. There's also going to be a new and separate warrant, I believe, being mailed out by the selectmen for another issue that must be addressed before July 1st, and that regards FEMA flood maps. We have to approve a flood map bylaw and a new FEMA flood map. Otherwise, it expires, and people won't be able to get flood insurance in certain neighborhoods in Abington. So check your mail. You'll be getting that in the future, and you'll hear more about it from the Board of Selectmen and our town officials. We'll move on then to Article 15K, taping of meetings of multiple member bodies for broadcast. Ms. Jansen.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend the town bylaws by adopting a new bylaw as printed in the warrant, and further to authorize the town clerk to assign said bylaw a proper number consistent with the numbering system in said town bylaws.
Is there anything to be heard on the Finance Committee's motion on Article 15K? Yes, Mr. Wing.
I think it's a great idea to have all the meetings taped and be shown on TV. My only concern is that who's going to be taping the meetings? Are these volunteers, or and how is that going to be coordinated to make sure that that's done?
I think that's why we're leaving it up to the selectmen to set the policy. I think that's the only answer right now. It just allows you to set the policy, and you'd have to work that out. I don't mean to be curt, Mr. Wing, but I think that's where they are right now. Any other questions on Article 15K? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15K, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. It's unanimous, I believe. 15L, distribution of the warrant.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to amend the charter to change the process for making the warrant available prior to town meeting by revising Section 2-8 as printed in the warrant. Provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition. And further, that Section 152-2 of the town's general bylaws be amended by deleting the text and title of said section and inserting in place thereof a new section 152-2A through 152-2D as printed in the warrant, provided, however, that such bylaw amendment shall not take effect until the special legislation authorized by this vote shall have been enacted and all provisions of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 32 have been met.
Thank you, Maureen. Are there any questions on Article 15L? If not, all those in favor of... Oh, yes, I'm sorry, sir.
Rick Collins, 74 Orange Street. Is there a way to clarify Section B so that it's not just posted on the town's website, but it's posted in a format that is printable? So that people, I think the purpose is so that people can print them off themselves, but there are formats that if you put something online, it makes it very difficult to actually print it in a legible, easily used fashion. Is there a way to...
So if you would like to make a motion to amend it to say shall post a printable edition of the warrant, would that suffice?
Yes, please.
Is that Mr. Collins, is it? A printable edition of the warrant on the town's website. That would be under Section 152.2 Part B is the amendment being proposed by Mr. whatever his name is, I'm getting tired. Collins, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, sir.
Terry Mays, 1020 Hancock Street. Just so that I understand this means that we will no longer be mailing the warrants to the homes, and instead of a warrant, people will be getting a flat little tiny postcard to let us know about town meeting? Is that correct?
It
So
would
what-
be, you want to take it?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that what's being proposed is that a postcard would go out telling people that it was available on the website. There would also be locations where a hard copy would be available. You know, right now we do the library, we do the post offices, could be at the police station, which is a 24-hour location. They would also be available at the town clerk's office, but the idea would be to be a greener, cost-efficient way of sending out the postcards as opposed to sending out a big document like this, which tends to change between the time it's mailed and the time you come here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Madam
Mays.
Chairman.
Thank you.
I do have a comment. I don't support this article because I find it very difficult to lose something this size in the mail as opposed to a little tiny postcard. And not everybody has computers where they can print off a copy. So I think that we're going to be limiting some people to the availability of the warrant. Not everybody can get to the town hall or to the library and the times that they're open. So we are going to be limiting information for certain types of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mays.
If I could just comment, I think
Yes,
that
Ms. Jansen.
what we had mentioned was the postcard would also have the telephone number of the town clerk, and not to add more work to the town clerk, but there would be the ability to have one mailed out to you upon request.
Moderator recognizes Katie Marini.
Katie Marini, 6 Winthrop Street. I do support this because, again, this is a huge cost to the town that we go through every single year. And then, as you all notice, when you come in, they're provided to us at the door. But what Terry was talking about is, so the town clerk will send those out to the residents of the town that are homebound and can't get to, say, the public library or, you know, wherever else it's, excuse me, wherever else it's posted. But I'm wondering, is there going to be a provision in the budget for like sending out the postage, and is that already like factored in? Because I would bet it's not like a onesie twosie kind of thing. I bet we would have a significant amount of people who are not computer literate or able to get out of their homes to get this important information.
Thank you, Ms. Marini. The town moderator recognizes the town manager.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. There will be a provision in the budget for mailing purposes, which is cheaper than the current process that we're using right now. If anyone wants to know, this warrant cost us $16,000 to print, which equals out to about $52.44 a voter here tonight, if you had 300 people, and there's less than that. So we have to come up with a better, more cost-efficient and effective manner of getting this out. The amount of money that we would spend mailing out to individual requestees obviously is going to be far less than that. So we'll make that appropriation available in FY13.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. The motion on the floor is to approve Article 15L with the amended language offered by Mr. Collins that it would be a printable edition on the town website. Is there anything further to be heard on Article 15L? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15L with Mr. Collins' amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Article 15L is approved. Majority vote. 15M, Finance Committee recommendations.
And L passed.
Yes.
Okay.
First motion.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to amend Section 6-5 of the Town Charter as printed in the warrant, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition. And further, to amend Section 67-4 of the town bylaws as printed in the warrant, provided, however, that such bylaw amendment shall not take effect until the special legislation authorized by this vote shall have been enacted and all provisions of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 32 have been met.
Thank you, Ms. Jansen.
Thank you.
Just so people understand what's going on, there is wording in our charter and there's wording in our bylaws that require these materials to be mailed to every house in Abington where a voter resides, which is essentially every house. this state law says that you have to post the warrant and then do whatever the bylaws require. So it really shouldn't be in the charter, so these proposals are to just delete it from the charter and update what the bylaw will say, and the bylaw will now say we're not going to mail it to every household in Abington. So we're trying to bring everything into conformity with that ideal. Is there any questions on Article 15M as proposed for approval by the Finance Committee? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 15M, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 15N, cap on Class 2 licenses.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to amend Section 164-1 and 164-2 of the town bylaws as set forth in the warrant.
Finance Committee makes a motion to approve the article as set forth. Essentially, as I understand it, we are eliminating the limit of Class 2 licenses because it has now been found to be illegal to place a limit on the number of Class 2 licenses by a recent case handed down by the courts. Anything to be heard on Article 15N? Yes, sir. Moderator recognizes Jeff Rangel.
Jeff Rangel, 242 Shore Avenue. Mainly a question, because it's a shame that we have to eliminate the quota that we've had on the number of used car dealerships we have in the town here. And I understand there's been some ruling against it. But how does that compare to where towns are set and limit how many liquor licenses are passed out in the town? Why is there a difference? I mean, it seems like that's the cars are a lot less of an issue.
Thank you, Mr. Rangel. Mr. Town Manager John D'Agostino.
Mr. Rangel, I didn't catch the comparison you were making when I was coming up. I didn't hear you.
The comparison is that most towns, and I don't know how it's done, I'm just asking the question, that they set a limit on liquor licenses, and there's a cap on that. And how is that legal and this not legal? I mean, this really does make a lot of sense. We kind of look like the used car dealership of the world here.
The cap on liquor licenses is established through state legislation that limits the number of liquor licenses based on the population size of your particular community. When we went over 16,000, for example, we ended up with one additional license. And that's tied into what is considered not an arbitrary or capricious process. When you look at the number of licenses, and we picked the number 25, that is arbitrary and somewhat capricious, and that, I think, speaks to the issue of why it's illegal to establish a number such as that. It's not tied to something greater than 25. There's no rational reason as to how we ended up with the number of 25. Why not 31? Why not 35? Why 25? Whereas with respect to liquor licenses, in this particular case, it's tied to population growth. And the rationale is, as your community grows, the demand for liquor is probably far greater as your population increases, and that's why it's tied to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rangel. Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Is there anything else to be heard on Article 15N? If not, all those in favor of the approval of Article 15N, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 16. This is the special legislation to change the charter once again, to change, and correct me if I'm wrong, to take the maintenance responsibilities of our parks and playgrounds from the park department to the highway department to maintain control in scheduling with the park department. Is that right? That's the proposal. Mrs. Jansen.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation to amend the charter as follows. Provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition. An act amending the charter of the town of Abington, Section 1. Notwithstanding the provisions of Section 5 and 14 of Chapter 45 of the general laws, or of any other general or special law to the contrary, the charter of the town of Abington is hereby amended by inserting at the end of the third sentence the following. Provided, however, that the highway department shall have responsibility for maintenance of all such property. Section 2, This act shall take effect upon passage.
Thank you, Ms. Chance. Is anything to be heard on Article 16? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 16, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. It is unanimous. Before we go to our last article, which is Article 18, I want to take a quick moment to thank some volunteers. Sue Kramer, Barb Franey, and Ann Welch helped out checking you in tonight. And Kathy Cochran, thank you. They helped out volunteering to try to get you through the system as quick as we could. I want to also thank Paul Lombardi and Steve Judici, who are our custodial staff here, that they do a great job, and I appreciate everything you guys have done all day helping me out, and the town clerk. Justin Shanahan, who's running our cable TV, once again. And again, I have to thank the volunteers in the Finance Committee and everyone else here that spends so much time to try to get this meeting organized. We'll do Article 18, and then we have to have a motion after that to set the date to continue town meeting, so I'd ask you to please hang around for a minute. Article 18 is to see if we'll rescind $1,126,650 of authorized but unissued borrowing authority for a previous water issue.
The Finance Committee moves that the town vote to rescind $1,126,650 of the authorized but unissued borrowing authority approved by the vote of the town under Article 18 of the April 3rd, 2006 annual town meeting.
As I understand it, a little kudos go to the water department. They were able to build the water storage tanks and do the upgrades for basically they saved $1.1 million and got the project done. So now we're basically saying we don't need to borrow that extra money. It's kind of like lowering our credit card limit to clean our books. Any questions on Article 18? If not, all those in favor of approving Article 18, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The chairman, Mr. Aiello, makes a motion to continue this annual town meeting to an adjourned session on Monday, May 21st at Abington High School, right here in the gym at 7 p.m. I ask that you please mark your calendars. We will be taking up the monetary articles, establishing the budget for this coming year. I do appreciate all the time. All those in favor of adjourning till Monday, May 21st, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. I hereby declare that this session is now adjourned till the 21st of May. Thank you for your attendance and your support of the town of Abington.